Hi there, I'm Nicholas R. Cicada, and I got the autism. And as somebody with the autism, to be frank, I don't understand the autism nowadays, if you know what I'm saying. It seems like these days you can't go 5 seconds without hearing about autism. Autism is in the news. Autism is in every video. Autism's all over this shit. And here's the thing, right? I was diagnosed with autism when I was really young. Like, I'm talking like 2005. When I was, diagnosed, autism was not as well understood as it is today. And that was really nice. Because, nobody got it. So I go into the doctor, I'm like 4, or no, I'm 3 into the, yeah, right. So I go to the doctor, and they're like, oh, he has autism. And, I'm like, okay. It's like, I don't give a shit. Because growing up, I was always told that autism, doesn't matter. It's just a different way of looking at the world. I really doubt I see the world too much different from anyone else. But okay, if I see the world from a different perspective than everyone else, then so be it. Nothing I can do about it. No skin off my back, right? Am I right? I grew up believing that my autism wasn't that much of an issue. And lo and behold, when you grow up with that mindset, it's not that much of an issue. Either that or I was misdiagnosed and I don't have autism. I've seen more severe autism than mine, and, it's pretty bad. I don't know. Maybe I've deluded myself into thinking I have autism. There's a fun little thought experiment. No, I have autism. I know for a fact I have autism. And anytime I, try and talk to people, they're like, hey, do you have autism? Or some of them are like, hey, do you have Down syndrome? Yeah, if I had Down syndrome, I wouldn't be talking in coherent sentences. And I'm thinking, what Down syndrome's like if you're asking if I have Down syndrome. The fact of the matter is, I just don't think autism's that big a deal. At least not for me, maybe for someone with severe autism it's a big deal, but I've never found it much of a hassle. Also, here's the thing, right? Where does neurotypical and atypical come from? Where do these two terms come out of? I never heard them used before like last year. And here's the thing, right? No one's typical. Everyone's brain works different whether you have autism or not. The brain is a complex goddamn machine. How can you be typical? And what's that mean? Doesn't that lead to a sense of othering? But all the time I hear, atypical, neurotypical. I don't hear anyone talking about these terms like they're some kind of offensive bullshit. As far as I can tell, they just are. Because, where do you draw the line between, having a major condition like autism and having a minor neurosis like claustrophobia? If you're claustrophobic, does that mean you're atypical? Or what, It's just a made-up bullshit word. And I think when you're dealing with something that's real, like autism, just say, oh, this person has autism, not, hey, this person is atypical. I'm an atheist, I'm asexual, I'm autistic, I'm a lot of other things that start with A. I don't know if I'm atypical. I don't think you can be atypical, because what's typical? Seriously, what's neurotypical? What does that mean? How does your brain function normally? Do you have any idea how much stress and how much crying and pain the average human brain goes through? No conditions or anything. You supposedly neurotypical people are, they're emotionally shattered and crippled. And, I hear all the time, oh, content warning, here's a content warning for you. What do we need content warnings for if everyone's neurotypical except, autistic people? If everyone's neurotypical, why is everyone having mental breakdowns all the time, and crying fights, and lovers' spats, and why are people breaking down all the time? I honestly just think the human brain is a fragile thing. If I flash flashing lights up here for a second, some of you are going to get epilepsy and go into seizures, You're not even necessarily, autistic. Your brain is just such a fragile, flippin', like it's like a glass plate. You just flash some lights, and your brain can't even process that. I mean, and that's just a complex machinery right there. I mean, how can you be neurotypical? Seriously. Like, someone tell me how this terminology isn't just total bullshit. Maybe it wasn't around back in 2006, the early years when I was diagnosed. I never heard this shit. I just go in the doctor, he's like, okay, he's autistic. Yeah, nothing you can do. It's just how he's born. I don't give a shit if people say I have autism, or people say I shouldn't have autism, or people say, oh, it's autistic. I don't give a shit. These are the two things I ask you don't do. This is how to offend an autistic person, alright? A, don't call autism a mental illness, because it's not a goddamn mental illness. I'll tell you something, schizophrenia is a mental illness. If you're schizophrenic, you see and hear things that aren't there. If you're autistic, you just insult people a little more. I can live with that. I'm a satirist. It's my job to insult people. You ever hear Don Rickles? He insults people all the time. The guy isn't even autistic. It just comes naturally to me. Autism isn't a mental illness. It's just not. And if you've been told that, you've been lied to. Autism is simply a different perspective on the world. I see things a little different. How I see them different, I can't be sure, because I'm stuck in this head of mine. But to the best of my knowledge, it's really not that exciting or interesting, or that different from how anyone else experiences things. This right here is a wall. That right here is a door. Oh shit, dang, I'm nuts. That's the first thing you shouldn't do around someone with autism. The second thing is, don't try and feel sorry for anyone with autism, because I guarantee, like I said, people without autism have it a lot worse off than people with autism. With autism, you can have kind of an emotional detachment from the world, and that's really nice to have. It's really nice to just not really care about anything. I'm not saying autistic people are incapable of empathy. There are plenty of autistic fellows who are. What I mean is that I don't get too invested in anything, and that's really nice. It allows me to experience life a lot easier than someone without autism. Autism definitely has its benefits. The rumor is that if you get vaccinated, then you get autism. As for me, I was vaccinated. Didn't cause my autism. I was just born with the autism. Get this, right? I got the autism, so I don't care how many shots I get. I will go into the doctor and be like, give me all the shots you got. I want to boost my immune system. Wouldn't it benefit the anti-vax crowd to make up a conspiracy theory where the disease you get from vaccines isn't something that isn't curable and you live with for your entire life, like Ebola? If they said vaccines cause Ebola, then that'd be a lot more effective. Vaccines cause autism? Okay, I don't give a shit. I already got all the autism in the world. Shoot me up, baby. I don't give a shit, frankly. If you already have autism, why is this getting vaccinated? That's just a stupid flippin' conspiracy theory. That needs to stop, because I'm sick of autistic people being treated like something caused it. Something didn't cause it, except genetics, I guess. Or maybe it's that you drank too much during your pregnancy. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's not the vaccine. Maybe it's that you drank too much during your pregnancy. Another thing you should definitely never do around an autistic person is ask about their experience. How is it being autistic? How is it like? How is the autism for you? Oh baby, how is the autism? For me, I haven't been in any special needs courses. I went to the same classes and school as everyone else. I had no issues. One thing which definitely doesn't help the public's perception of autistic people, I would say, are shows like The Big Bang Theory, or Young Sheldon, or God Help Us, this new Netflix original, Atypical. I saw the poster for Atypical, and I thought it was a parody. That's how bad it looked. That's how god-awful it looked. Do you think young Sheldon is an accurate portrayal of an autistic child? Heck no. Young Sheldon is an annoying little brat, and he can go out and write his name on the chalkboard like a little wimp because he sucks. Young Sheldon is garbage. That's what I have to say about him. He can go out and chop some logs because he flipping sucks. Never act like autism is some sort of rare or wacky disease, because guess what? 1 in 59 people have it. That's so astronomically common that the person sitting next to you on the bus probably has flipping autism. Can you imagine this? I remember that like statistical birthday party trick where they go, hey, collect like 50 people in a room and odds are 2 of them will have the same birthday, right? It's just like that, except even slimmer. Collect 59 people and 1 of them is going to have autism? At that point, why even call it a condition? It's just 1/59th of the population being a little antisocial. I mean, I don't think this is a condition worth discussing. I don't think this is a condition worth making entire movies about. Press F in the chat for Dakota Fanning's Please Stand By. Dear God, that movie looks cringe. And overall, I just don't think autism is interesting enough to make a movie about. I get with, like, rare mental disorders, like Rain Man, you know? That's a rare mental disorder. Or, like, Forrest Gump has a rare mental disorder. I don't think he's autistic, but that's worth making a movie about, because his mental disorder is interesting. You know, it's not specified what it is in the movie, but it's not autism, but whatever it is, it's worth making a movie about. You honestly think autism is worth making an entire movie or an entire TV show about? You think young Sheldon can run for 3 seasons without getting stale? Well, I have news for you. Autism isn't that interesting. You know what's interesting? Elephant Man syndrome, where you get trampled by elephants while you're in the womb, and that's how the Elephant Man turns out. Or maybe he's just called that because he looks like an elephant, but I think in the movie it's that he gets trampled by elephants when he's in the womb, right? That's a cool condition that's worth making a movie about because it's pretty rare. But shocker, autism isn't rare or that interesting. If you're planning on making an entire movie about autistic people where the whole premise is that they are autistic, congratulations, you've made the most boring movie of all time. Autism isn't that big a deal. Maybe it is for other people. It certainly hasn't been for me. You know, maybe other people come away from conversations with me a little shaken. I sure as heck don't. I feel fine. Put some autistic people next to a flippin' robot alien from Venus, and then we can talk. Put some autistic people just on a street. Congratulations, you pretty much made My Dinner with Andre, the autistic version. Great job. Anyway, those are my thoughts on autism. And as someone with autism, if there are some autistic fellows in the comments who are like, oh no, you shouldn't call it with autism because that makes it sound like a disease. Like I said, I was diagnosed when nobody really knew what autism is and nobody really gave a shit. And look at how I turned out. Not giving a shit. Anyway, those are my thoughts on autism. Frankly, I just don't see why autism's gotten so big these past few decades, you know? I mean, sure, it's gotten a lot more attention, but I really don't think it's worth making a fuss about. There's AIDS. They still haven't cured AIDS. Make a fuss about that, for gosh sakes. Don't stop making a fuss about autism. Make a fuss about leukemia. That shit kills people. You think autism's bad? And to be honest, I just don't give a shit. I just don't care that I'm autistic. And whenever someone says to me, oh, I don't like you because you're autistic, or hey, it's the next Chris Chan, I'm like, It's just how I am. It's not because I'm autistic, it's just because this is how I am. Alright, this is how I've always been. This is how I'm always gonna be. You can't change me as a person. Can't get the autism out of me, but I really don't think it's the autism that makes me a snarky and witty asshole. And I think that's just me, if I'm gonna be honest. I think if I wasn't autistic, I'd still be a snarky, cynical asshole. You know, that's just kind of how I am. That's just kind of my belief system. Sorry if that offends you. It's just bizarre how autism is treated these days. I mean, I just don't get it. Like, I just don't comprehend it. Anywho, I'm not going to suggest you donate to any autistic charities or anything like that, because honestly, I think autistic people can manage. At the most, they might need to visit with a psychiatrist like once a week. Donate to a charity that like cures cancer or something. Better use your money, if I'm going to be honest. You know, frankly, who gives a shit? I don't give a shit, and I can say that because I'm autistic. Haha. If I wasn't autistic, I wouldn't be able to say I didn't give a shit about autism, but since I am autistic, I can say that and get away with it scot-free, and that's just the power of autism for you, baby. Unless I'm misdiagnosed, in which case I may have just made the biggest mistake of my career, but that's my thoughts on autism, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara, suckers. Gosh, that's still a stupid outro. Oh well.